So we'll hear first from Jami Padgett, Entler, Erin Jin Mei O'Malley, Shelby Hartness, Emma K. Shibley, Reeya Gandhi, and Madeleine Corley. So Jami, please join us.
Hello. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. So I'm Jami. I am a white woman who is wearing glasses, and I have dark brown curly hair, and I'm wearing a red sweater. I'm going to read an original poem for you all called Portrait of Mother as Devil's Wife. Bent in the Polaroid, damp hair dark and full, she's the devil's wife for Halloween. It's been years since he left in the photograph. She's in front of a sink in the master bathroom, smiling at the run in her hose, Marsala red, the inside of a buckshed velvet, same as her dress and its tongues, its skirt a pennant banner meant maybe to engulf her in inhabitable flames. Bargain store Persephone, the strands of lamb in her hair quicksilvered by the old camera's flash. Thank you.
I love bargain store Persephone. Such a great line.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna introduce the next reader. Entler.
Hey. So I have medium brown hair, cut short, just shy of chin length, and blue circular rimmed glasses. Wearing a blue top with tortoise colored or patterned buttons and a gray cardigan. And my poem today is about sea turtles. And just for a little bit of context, the leatherback sea turtle is the largest type of sea turtle, and that is the title of it, is leatherback. You are the only one of your kind who does not return home to nest, opting instead to venture wherever you feel like, reaching new pockets of earth. Maybe your instincts have misfired, a product of mutated genes gone wrong, your idea of home morphed, lost in the translation of generations. Maybe you are too strong to be anchored by connection, your weight acting as a tether to the world. Maybe you're too punk to be familial, pitch black leather jacket covering your organs, angst and rebellion keeping you home. It is okay. I will forgive you for leaving, and I will not expect you to return. When I visit the ocean, I will watch for noses breaking the surface. Thanks.
Too punk to be familiar. Yes. Also, I have a lifelong love of turtles. So thank you. Our next poet is Erin Jin Mei O'Malley.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm an East Asian person who has black short hair above my ears, and I'm wearing silver hoop earrings and a tan overalls over a white shirt. And this is a work in progress titled Essay on Absence. Essay on Absence. I went hungry the way a dog I once owned went missing. I never stopped missing him, even after I found him, but life goes on to show you how to make a fist out of the number of months your stomach was a pitted fruit. If your poem uses the word hunger, I'm not reading it unless you know what it's like to be used to waking to nothing but the failed vanishing act of your body absent except for the ache it belongs to. I can tell you want and want so casually you've never closed your eyes in the rain and almost dissolved. If desire is a want that collapses the distance between the self and a lack, I was too scarce for desire. Years before this, a stone from my hand striking the palm of a creek as if I were breaking the heart of a match. Furthest prelude, December 1998. Yes, even I was surprised to learn of hunger as the only abandonment my body couldn't stand. The stone's grief at lying at the dirt bottom of what was once a creek. It was there I discovered that emptiness is a borderlessness.
I love that. I love borderlessness. It's a great word to end on. Thank you. Next, we have Shelby Hartness.
Hi, thank you. Am I pinned? Did it work? Okay, great. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here. I'm Shelby. I have short, dirty blonde hair. I'm wearing dark brown lipstick and a tank top. I'm a white woman. I'm reading a poem I wrote recently. It's called Hesperian. The women outside the recreation center, dripping in one pieces, lime green and terrible blue. I'm jealous of their blatant cohabitation. Skin spilling out, barely holding the towel, 80 degrees, my hand is out the window, tapping the roof so casual underneath the palm tree. I passed a pile of shirtless boys in the grass playing beer pong for anyone to see. I hit send on my screen with the joke to join them. You say you're coming and I wonder when. Playing this album that was sent to me, planning the better one to play you. It is July 31st, a state I will never visit. Red cowboy boots, legs unshaven. Trader Joe's lava cake, sexy deathy underbelly, a spliff under the full moon. I smile at the specificity of your enunciation. You are good at giving direction. You are good at this. You are good at all of it. Thank you.
I passed a pile of shirtless boys. Such rhythm in this. Our next poet is Emma K. Shibley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emma. I am a white woman presenting person. I have dark brown hair that's long. I'm wearing a kind of peachy braided headband, and I have a little sun on my face from being outside this afternoon. I'm reading a poem called Circadian. It's an older poem, but it's one of those that as I've gotten a little older and wiser compared to when I wrote it, then I think I didn't even know how right I was kind of coming to some of these ideas. All right, and at the very end, there are two footnotes, very short footnotes that I'll read that are kind of intended to be a coda for the poem. So just to give you a little heads up there. Okay, this is Circadian. May the sun cook me, char me, accept foil, crept broil, human resource nightmares out my dreams, fry cuffed sleeves overhead. May the sun grind me, skim me, rack climb tree, bind fluvian nonsense beyond swe but before Q to the frothy posts of my bed. I never noticed, my mom says to me, how strong your walk. I reply to her, I am ready to retire. Unimpartable word things, oh kit, oh caboodle, oh happy clam and welly poodle. May you reap, may you sleep, may you rest. Footnote 2, fluvian from the English fluvial, riverly, and 1 from the German Pudelwohl, sich Pudelwohl fühlen, to feel completely contented, like $1 million, perfectly happy, right as rain. Thank you.
Beautiful. I love all those sounds. Thank you. Next, we have Reeya Gandhi.
Hi, I am a Indian woman with shoulder-length black hair, and I am wearing kind of oval black glasses. This is a poem that was introduced to me my freshman year of college by one of my English professors, and I have like always loved it since and like shared it since. It's called Song by Bridget Kelly. Listen, there was a goat's head hanging by ropes in a tree. All night it hung there and sang, and those who heard it felt a hurt in their hearts and thought they were hearing the song of a night bird. They sat up in their beds, and then they lay back down again. In the night wind, the goat's head swayed back and forth, and from far off it shone faintly. The way the moonlight shone on the train track miles away, beside which the goat's headless body lay. Some boys had hacked its head off. It was harder work than they had imagined. The goat cried like a man and struggled hard, but they finished the job. They hung the bleeding head by the school and then ran off into the darkness that seemed to hide everything. The head hung in the tree, the body lay by the tracks. The head called to the body to the head. They missed each other. The missing grew large between them until it pulled the heart right out of the body, until the drawn heart flew towards the head, flew as a bird flies, back to its cage and the familiar perch from which it trills. Then the heart sang in the head, softly at first, and then louder, sang long and low until the morning light came up over the school and over the tree, and then the singing stopped. The goat had belonged to a small girl. She named the goat Broken Thorn Sweet Blackberry, named it after the night's bush of stars, because the goat's silky hair was dark as well water, because it had eyes like wild fruit. The girl lived near a high railroad track. At night, she heard the trains passing, the sweet sound of the train's horn pouring softly over her bed, and each morning she woke to give the bleeding goat his pail of warm milk. She sang him songs about girls with ropes and cooks and boats. She brushed him with a stiff brush. She dreamed daily that he grew bigger, and he did. She thought her dreaming made it so. But one night, the girl didn't hear the train's horn, and the next morning she woke to an empty yard. The goat was gone. Everything looked strange. It was as if a storm had passed through while she slept. Wind and stones, rain stripping the branches of fruit. She knew that someone had stolen the goat and that he had come to harm. She called to him. All morning and into the afternoon, she called and called. She walked and walked. In her chest, a bad feeling, like the feeling of the stones gouging the soft undersides of her bare feet. Then somebody found the goat's body by the high tracks, the flies already filling their soft bottles at the goat's torn neck. Then somebody found the head, hanging in a tree by the school. They hurried to take these things away so that the girl would not see them. They hurried to raise money to buy the girl another goat. They hurried to find the boys who had done this, to hear them say it was a joke, it was nothing but a joke. But listen, here's the point. The boys thought to have their fun and be done with it. It was harder work than they had imagined, this silly sacrifice, but they finished the job, whistling as they washed their large hands in the dark. What they didn't know was that the goat's head was already singing behind them in the tree. What they didn't know was that the goat's head would go on singing, just for them, long after the ropes were down, and that they would learn to listen, pail after pail, stroke after patient stroke. They would wake in the night thinking they heard the wind in the trees, or a night bird, but their hearts beating harder. There would be a whistle, a hum, a high murmur, and at last a song. The low song a lost boy sings, remembering his mother's call. Not a cruel song, no, not a cruel song at all. This song is sweet. It is sweet. The heart dies of the sweetness.
Ugh. A poem. Thank you for reading that. It also kind of speaks to, there's pieces of it I think that speak to the ghosts from the workshop earlier. So I feel like that's really fitting. Our last poet tonight in our opening round is Madeleine Corley.
Thanks, Molly. My name is Madeleine. I am a white woman with my hair in a ponytail with a little scarfy bow thing, wearing a red tube top strap canvas jumpsuit with blue back behind me and a bright light to my left side. So the poem I'm gonna read today is called The Month After the Letdown. Your cabin's pink raft held me, crying above leeches last summer in Maine. I still refuse to visit lakes until someone proves to me they're empty. Before I knew it would be the last time we talked, I got drunk on mosquito bites and bad beer to stomach the cool girl I mildewed in your hands. 30 days later, I say, I want to hit you up. I tether myself to this trap, you, dark water, me, the raft. I ache to wound my flesh again. I am heady for letting my own blood.
Thank you. I feel like the opening round always goes so fast. But that's the end of our opening round. I love how all these poems come together. So thank you, all of you, for adding your voices to this space. And if it's all right with y'all, we'll just go ahead and turn it over to Muriel here in a second. We're gonna ask our current intern CD to do a little introduction.
Hello, hi, my name is CD, image description. I'm a white person with curly shoulder-length hair, clear glasses, and a yellow shirt. Behind me is a pothos plant. So I'm really excited to have Muriel Leung here to read with us this evening. If you've had a chance to look at Muriel's book, experience Muriel's book, as you might also see in the Access document in a second, the forms which she uses are fantastic, amazing, and I'm really excited to see how this comes to us through the reading in a variety of different ways. So Muriel Leung is the author of Imagine Us, The Swarm, Bone Confetti, and Images Seen to Images Felt, in collaboration with artist Kristine Thompson. She is a recipient of fellowships to Kundiman, VONA Voices Workshop, and the Community of Writers. She is the poetry co-editor of Apogee Journal and co-hosts the Blood Jet Writing Hour podcast with Rachelle, Cruz, and MT Vallarta. She is a member of Miresa Collective, a feminist speakers bureau. Currently, she is an Andrew W. Mellon Humanities in a Digital World Fellow at the University of Southern California, where she is completing her PhD in creative writing and literature. She is from Queens, New York. Muriel.
Thank you so much for the introduction, CD. And CD wrote this really wonderful review of my book, so thank you for that as well. Okay, good. There's a document with my reading materials there. Cool. I published a book recently called Imagine Us, The Swarm. And I'd love to read from it tonight. Firstly, thank you so much to all the readers who came before it. I actually expected you all to read for much longer. I loved the cacophony of voices there. So thank you so much for sharing. I wish it was longer. So the poems, the essays in verse and poems in Imagine Us, A Swarm sort of moves through different familial stories, different thinking through Asian American identity. What does it mean to build an identity through healing, through intergenerational harms? And so I'll read the first essay in verse from the collection. This is to live several lives. Once when I was very, very young, I studied the curious lives of bees, their steadfast and synchronous labor. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to give a visual description. I forgot that last time too. I'm also sleepy, same as Molly. I have green hair. I am a cis woman with green hair and a side cut and septum piercing and red lips and a sleeveless gray top with a floral tattoo on my right shoulder. And there's a green armchair behind me. Thank you for that reminder. No. Okay, so this is To Live Several Lives. Once when I was very, very young, I studied the curious lives of bees, their steadfast and synchronous labor, thinking of what it means to be at once a colony and alone. A bee learns to become a Malarian mimic, dressed as some other creature with a deadlier poison. A bee who is sometimes a wasp, sometimes a stinging beetle, sometimes larger than its small self, each one working so hard to perform a sense of safety. Some nights I'm thinking of the colony of my father and me and what the bees know to be true. To survive a history in the wild requires arduous labor of some effortlessly seeming toil, as in, I want to tell you about his commute. He smelled like leather and tobacco. He was a type of burning. He said yes often. The restaurant was a hole he fell into. Most nights I waited for him. When he was home, he was tired. That's all. Maybe I'm making this up. I can't remember. I asked my father once, do you ever get lonely? Did he answer? I set out to write a book about, but it was about. Instead, after he died, was all that was left. Let me posit this now, the book, a labor, a means to measure the contradictions of one's life against another. He wrote to me in a letter, you have to work hard. Your dad loves you. I am trying to be both, a daughter, a ghost. In Ghostly Matters, Avery Gordon writes on the drive to narrate the history that hurts. It is about putting life back in where only a vague memory or a bare trace was visible to those who bothered to look. It is sometimes about writing ghost stories, stories that not only repair representational mistakes, but also strive to understand the conditions under which a memory was produced in the first place, toward a counter memory for the future. To write a book is to write into a future, and I am not ready. There was a time I worked so much I couldn't sleep. R said I was a dense bubble of worries. They pressed my body onto the bed and said, rest, rest, and it was like a game, how awful I was at it. I would shoot up from the bed, out of their arms, back on the train, on the bus, to a faraway borough. I carried a suitcase with me as if I was going somewhere that was not the job and not the hive. I left too soon, the house, the bed, the quiet weight of R's couch, where we were watching each other. They said, it's like you're a stranger. I don't know where this comes from. I know exactly where this comes from. We mimic the species that perform a certain meals, certain ideal means of survival. I think it's funny that the book is not about bees at all. I wanted to write a book about your Orpheus and Eurydice, how they lived and died again, how hellish discovering that the journey was not enough, even at its end, that impulse to look back, which is like admitting grief is a form of self-sabotage. And then she was ash. Another myth, my father swimming from mainland China to then British-occupied Hong Kong. When he was caught, he disappeared for a while into the fields. One can say he worked there and discovered the body as an ox that could keep on, even if the migration as a broken history we don't talk about. How do you write a history that is both yours and not yours, but an extension of an improbable feature, in which the girl writes the book to become subject by way of sharing the labor of movement into this future of unknowns, what language we are making with our bodies, with work, with hard work. The story of labor is that it goes on. The hive hums its vacant sound. In the comb, the honey is slow, and its obedience bruises me. Noise falls out, a frailty of many cells. My father, inside a cylinder of white smoke, wasn't efforted, alive. He became harsh as a tyrant bell. I swear love is a hollow tune, and the rest of us, we carried him, we were the tune. I heard it from Mom who told it, and can you tell it again? Is it work if it doesn't hurt, if you like it? Are you allowed to like it, the work? If it hurts and you're not sure if you like it, is that also work? For a while, not saying, because it was bad form. My father had been complaining about a possible ulcer. He ignored most pains as he was accustomed. The book leaves out this story, which contains gold and tool and other objects not frequently featured in narratives of or witness. On the night before my senior prom, attempting to finesse the zipper of my gold mermaid dress that had stopped halfway up my torso, I was using an ineffective combination of coat hanger, paper towel, and butter. That night, my father came into my room. He told me that he had less than months to live. And it had accelerated in his body, not an ulcer, but a different monster. He sat on my bed and let the words hang stale in the air. I folded 20 times into his lap, the zipper on my side without any give, a gush of gold and tulle scattered across the wooden floor. The next day, I danced into the dawn, shimmering in a devastation that looked and felt like a human-sized hole. Later, learning that there are some bees who live alone. I would tell this story years after with laughter, unsure what else to do. Perhaps all of this is to suggest that the book is not enough, or apologetically to everyone, I would say, I'm sorry that I wrote a sad book. The poet Arati Warrior in her poem Alive says, I plan to love so loudly, my body abandons every demon harvesting me. Let me tell you a story which begins with a death and ends with a study of a life of labor done with such seeming ease. It is like an art, the way it takes on this other life, the body as another metaphor, while also literally doing its job to write the story of itself, the words lost before they were ever spoken. But I suppose this is a way to remember with holes. And then the last two poems I love to read is from the final section of Imagine Us a Swarm. And these are all poems that begin with the refrain, suppose, and is a way of dreaming of a different future. So these are the last two poems. Suppose, oh, sorry again, content warning for references to intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and sexual violence. Suppose the impact was a bell, a warning instead moving through a hollow factory. The violence of men and the colonial rituals of their past were a lesson. In the pedagogy of grief, the earth was good, and then history, the stalwart chemicals of its wake, still seeps in the soil. Would we not reverse that too if we could? The atomic weight of him pressed so deep into my torso that generations after would feel the soreness of ribs. Suppose my grandfather never struck my aunt because her cheek was there, and my father, in his piety to the self-same heaving, did not instead tell her to move out of the way. Because I was born witnessing, and in my queerness, still desire the love of these masculine injuries, I listened too closely and was lost. The pattern undulates and recedes. Suppose I became the sound of wind chimes crashing into the ground, startling the other body there that would not move. The ghost of my future visits my past and tells her, "You have to be brave." I could fortify my life this way. My allegiance to the bone, its refusal as instruction, will buoy me when memory is not enough. To feel even now the soft impressions of many thumbs. They are not the violence I remember. There is nothing left to forgive. Suppose there is an end to our suffering. Like a chariot, the absence of grief circles us with the obstinate heat of the largest star. To believe in the radiant orbit of this fire, to face an empty cup and find a consolated mire of you and me in the toppling of a century. We rise from the painful corridors of a life. Rarely did we dream of planetary rings, and yet, tilting ourselves up, we see the heavenly bodies of all that has passed, each one bright with surrender. We can go on. We can dress ourselves in the celestial cloak of this wide expanse, every woman and femme in a disorder of the peel. I will never write another elegy again. I am looking at you now in the acceleration of time. All the possibilities of the swarm ignite, the humming of many wings amassing into a greater noise. We can write our origins sacred here and renounce the country of our fear. There is only our singular pulse when we fill the sky. Thank you so much, everyone at Open Mouth, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much. And I'm just noticing, I know that a lot of us were at the workshop earlier, just noticing some of those like resonances, the things that we talked about, that like, how do you put language around absence? And I think that there's something even, Muriel, about like the cadence of your voice as you're reading this that is doing that. So it's really beautiful to get to experience that with you. I won't take up more time, but I do want to encourage everyone to, it's poets haven't been able to go on physical book tours and sell physical books during the pandemic. So please, we're going to put a link to where you can buy Muriel's books in the chat, and really encourage you to do that, supporting our poets here. And, we'll stick around for a little bit longer. If anybody wants to chat, I do want to say thank you to Muriel, of course, for being here. And thank you to Wes, our interpreter, who's done such a wonderful job with us today. And thank you also to Hiba and CD and Gwen for making this space warm and lovely. Felt really fast today. So yeah,